He forgot her every lifetime. Until this 1 inch. An unforgettable sci-fi love story that defied every reset. I never thought I'd find love at a garage sale, especially not while rummaging through a box labeled $1, take anything. But that's exactly where my story starts. It was a sticky Saturday morning in late June, and I was killing time before a friend's barbecue. I pulled over for this random yard sale because I spotted an old-school typewriter out front, one of those vintage ones that clack loudly with every key. I wasn't a writer or anything, but I liked collecting things that felt like they had a story behind them. That's when I saw her. She was organizing records in the shade, wearing an oversized flannel and cut-off jeans, sipping iced coffee like she owned the world. Her name was Lily, and she looked like someone who belonged on a vinyl album cover. Messy hair, sleepy smile, eyes like storm clouds. She caught me looking and smiled like she was used to being stared at. "You into jazz or just pretending for the aesthetic?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Little bit of both," I replied, trying to sound cool. We talked. For 2 hours. Right there next to the busted lawn chairs and stacks of old National Geographics. She told me she just moved to the neighborhood. She didn't know many people. She liked thunderstorms, hated raisins, and cried every time she watched Spirited Away. Before I left, she handed me a notebook from the $1, take anything box. "This one's on the house," she said, smiling like she knew something I didn't. "You might find something in there." That notebook was the beginning of everything. It looked handmade, stitched edges, a soft brown cover, pages yellowed with time. Inside were little sketches, thoughts, quotes. Some entries were happy, some sad. It felt deeply personal, almost too personal. I texted her that night. Me. "Hey, was this your notebook? Because I feel like I just read your diary." Lily. "Maybe. Did you learn anything interesting?" Me. "Yeah. You think pigeons are government drones?" Lily. "They are." I laughed so hard I dropped my phone. That notebook became our thing. She'd give me 1 page at a time. "Homework," she called it. "If you're gonna love me, you better know what you're signing up for." At first, it was cute. Then it became more than that. Each page peeled back a layer, her childhood, her dreams, even her fears. There was one page that stuck with me. It simply said, "I've never let anyone in all the way. But I want to." I didn't know then what that really meant. Lily and I were inseparable by the end of that summer. Morning coffee runs turned into midnight drives. We'd lie on her roof, watching airplanes blink across the sky. She'd read her poetry aloud, softly, like she wasn't sure if it deserved to be heard. One night, I told her I loved her. She didn't say it back. Not right away. Instead, she kissed me like it was the only way she knew how to respond. And I let it be enough. But things started getting weird. She'd disappear for a few days. No texts. No calls. Then come back like nothing happened. She always had some excuse, a family emergency, a broken phone, a mental health week. I didn't want to press her. She made it clear she needed space sometimes. I respected that. Until the night I followed her. It wasn't planned. I was driving home from work and saw her car, a beat-up red Toyota, turn into an unfamiliar street on the far side of town. She told me she was going to bed early. Something didn't sit right. I followed her, keeping a few cars behind. She pulled into a small parking lot behind a church. I watched as she got out, walked to a side door, and slipped inside. I waited 15 minutes. Then I got out. The door was unlocked. I stepped into a narrow hallway lit by dim yellow bulbs. I heard voices, soft, rhythmic, almost like chanting. I followed the sound, heart pounding in my throat. What I saw nearly made me leave right then and there. Lily was in the middle of a circle, surrounded by people holding hands. Candles flickered. There were drawings on the wall, strange symbols I didn't recognize. And she was crying. Not the kind of crying you do when you're sad. The kind that looks like release. Like confession. I didn't confront her that night. I waited for her to come to me. And she did, the next morning. Showed up at my door with tear-stained cheeks and a half apology in her eyes. "I was going to tell you," she said quietly. "But I didn't know how. I didn't know what to say." "Tell me what? What was that?" She hesitated. Then she handed me a page from the notebook. This one had no words. Just a drawing, of two people holding hands in the middle of a storm, lightning cracking above them. "I'm not who you think I am," she whispered. And that was when everything changed. After she handed me that page, the sketch of two figures holding hands under lightning, I just stood there. Silent. Confused. I didn't know if I should feel betrayed, worried, or scared. "I need you to come with me tonight," she said, voice steady but low, like she'd rehearsed it. "Where?" "To a place I haven't brought anyone before. But I think it's time." That night, she picked me up in the red Toyota. No radio, no small talk. Just the hum of tires on wet pavement as a storm rolled in, fittingly. She drove us out past the edge of town, past the gas stations and late-night diners, into the woods. We parked near an old trailhead I'd never noticed before. Lily handed me a flashlight. "This isn't going to make sense right away," she said. "But please keep an open mind." We hiked through damp brush until we reached a clearing with a rundown cabin. Ivy grew up the sides. The roof sagged a little. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years. But the inside told a different story. It was warm. Cozy even. Candles lit the space. A journal lay open on a small wooden table. A kettle whistled on a tiny stove in the corner. "This is where I come to reset," she said. "To remember." "Remember what?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out another notebook, this one thicker than the one from the garage sale. "Everything I've never told you is in here. I didn't write it for you, but you deserve to know." She placed it in my hands. "I want to be loved fully. And I want to be real with you. Even if it changes how you see me." I took the journal home. I didn't open it right away. It sat on my desk for 2 days. I'd stare at it every time I passed by, wondering if this was the moment that would destroy everything good we had. Finally, I cracked it open. The first page was dated 3 years before we met. March 14th, I saw him again. The one from the dreams. Same eyes, same scar on his cheek. But he doesn't exist, does he? I turned the page. March 29th, my mother says it runs in the family, this gift. I used to think it was just anxiety. But it's more. Sometimes I know things before they happen. Sometimes I feel things I shouldn't know. April 2nd, I predicted a fire last week. I tried to warn them. They didn't listen. No one ever does. I kept reading. Her words weren't dramatic or showy, they were scared. Honest. Raw. Lily believed she had some kind of intuition. Something just shy of psychic. It started in childhood, grew stronger in her teens, and became uncontrollable in adulthood. She said she'd sometimes get flashes of the future, faces she hadn't met yet, places she'd never been, disasters before they struck. At first, I thought maybe it was poetry. Metaphor. A way to explain anxiety or trauma. But then I got to the entry about me. 2 months ago, I saw him again. The man from the visions. This time, it wasn't a dream. It was real. He picked up the notebook at the sale, just like I'd seen. Said the exact words I'd written down weeks before. "His name is Adam." My blood went cold. That was exactly what I'd said. The whole "pigeons are drones" line. Word for word. Was it coincidence? Suggestion? Or was there really something more going on? The next time I saw Lily, I brought the notebook with me. "I don't know what to say," I told her. "You don't have to say anything. Just tell me, do you believe me? I believe that you believe it." She looked disappointed. But not surprised. "That's enough for now," she said quietly. "But there's more. And it gets heavier." Heavier? I didn't think it could. Things settled for a few weeks. We went back to late-night diners and movie marathons. I almost let myself forget the strange cabin, the journal, the visions. Then she vanished. Not for a day. Not for 3. But for 2 full weeks. No calls. No texts. Her phone went straight to voicemail. I even drove out to the cabin. It was locked. The windows were dark. No sign of life. I started to wonder if I'd imagined it all. The journals, the symbols, the candlelit nights. Maybe I'd fallen for someone who never really let me in. But then one morning, I got a package. No return address. Inside was a single envelope. No letter, just a photo. It was a Polaroid of me, sleeping. In my bed. Taken from inside my room. My hands shook as I stared at the photo. It was me, no question. Same gray sheets. Same bookshelf in the corner. My face half buried in the pillow, completely unaware. But here's the thing, I always locked my door. Always. And I lived alone. There was no note, no signature. Just that single image stuck inside a plain manila envelope like it was something ordinary. But it wasn't. It was a warning. Or a message. Or maybe, both. I called Lily's phone again. Still dead. I texted her, knowing it probably wouldn't go through. "Did you send me this photo?" No response. I didn't sleep that night. I left the light on, checked the locks twice, and even pushed a chair in front of the door like I was in some low-budget horror movie. My mind kept looping the same question: who had been in my house? And then, why? The next day, I made a decision I wasn't proud of. I drove back to the cabin, this time with a crowbar. If Lily wasn't going to answer me, I had to find my own answers. I know how that sounds, crazy, maybe even obsessive, but when you're in love and afraid, you stop playing by the rules. I pried open the back door. Inside, everything was exactly how I remembered it. The candles. The small wooden table. Even the tea kettle was still on the stove, as if time had frozen. Then I noticed something new. A wall covered in Polaroids. Hundreds of them. Some were blurry. Others sharp and centered. But what stopped me cold was that I was in several of them. Me at the coffee shop. Me leaving work. Me unlocking my front door. I stumbled back, dizzy. And then I saw it, one photo in the center of the wall, framed differently from the others. Lily. Standing in the middle of a street. Holding a sign that said, "He has to remember." I didn't know what it meant. Remember what? I left the cabin that day with one thing, the framed photo of Lily. I stared at it every night, hoping for a clue. Hoping she'd come back. Then one evening, just as the sun dipped below the rooftops, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "If you want to understand everything, come to the lake. Sunset. Come alone." It was the lake we used to visit sometimes, hidden behind a nature reserve, quiet and still like a secret. I drove there fast but careful, nervous she might disappear again if I was late. The sky was painted gold and rose when I parked and walked down the winding path to the shore. And there she was. Lily. She was barefoot, standing at the edge of the dock, arms wrapped around herself. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "You came," she said, not turning around. "You vanished," I replied. "I had to." I didn't ask why. "Not yet." She finally turned to face me, and her eyes looked different, clearer, calmer, but heavier too. "You've been washed," she said. "But not just recently. For a long time." "What does that mean?" She handed me another notebook. Smaller. Older. Inside were pages filled with two things, drawings of me, and entries in my own handwriting. Except I didn't remember writing any of it. October 5th, Lily says I won't remember again after tonight. She says it's for my own protection. I'm starting to believe her. The others are getting closer. October 10th, they came again last night. Bright lights. No sound. I woke up outside. This is getting worse. But Lily says I agreed to this. October 15th, I saw the scar again. The one from my dream. I thought it was just a dream, but now I think it's a memory. I need to write everything down before I forget again. I dropped the book. "No," I whispered. "This isn't mine. I didn't write this. I would remember." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "You've written it 5 times. Every time you forget. It's part of what they do." "Who's they?" She looked past me, toward the darkening woods. "You'll know soon. But for now, I need you to trust me." Again. We sat on the dock in silence, just listening to the water slap against the wood. "I thought I was losing my mind," I admitted. "You're not. You're remembering." "Remembering what, Lily?" "That we've done this before." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small locket. Inside was a photo of us. Not a recent one. It was grainy, old-looking. The kind you'd see in a dusty antique store. But there was no mistaking it. It was me. And Lily. Wearing clothes from a completely different time. I stared at the photo inside the locket for a long time. It didn't make sense. The edges were worn like it had lived inside that necklace for years, maybe decades. And yet, it showed me, no older than I was now, standing next to Lily in front of what looked like a train station from the 1940s. I traced my finger over it, hoping some part of my brain would suddenly unlock and say, "Oh yeah, now I remember this day." But nothing came. "Where did you get this?" I finally asked. Lily didn't answer right away. "Each time we meet," she said slowly, "I find a way to keep part of us safe. That photo, it's proof. From one of the earlier cycles." "Cycles? You've been here before, Adam." "With me. More than once." She took my hand and placed it on the side of my face, right where my faint childhood scar was. "That scar? You always have it. No matter when or where. That's how I always know it's really you." I pulled away, confused, half scared. "So what? You're saying we're stuck in a loop? Like a time loop?" "Not exactly time," she said. "More like memory. Life repeats itself for some people. For reasons we don't fully understand. Some call it reincarnation, some call it timelines, some say it's fate trying to get something right. And us?" She smiled sadly. "We always find each other. But something always tears us apart. Every single time." It sounded insane. Like a plot from a sci-fi movie. And yet, a part of me wanted to believe it. Because believing meant none of the heartbreak was wasted. Believing meant this wasn't just a random girl I met at a garage sale, it meant we were meant to meet. But that didn't explain everything. Like the notebooks. The disappearances. The photo of me sleeping. What about the people watching me? The photo? The cabin full of Polaroids? Her face darkened. They're not people. Not really. They're interruptions. Whatever force keeps pulling us together doesn't go unchallenged. There's something that always finds us. Something that doesn't want us to remember. What is it? I don't know. But they don't like when we get too close to the truth. She looked around nervously, then pulled a phone from her bag. It wasn't a regular phone. No apps, no camera. Just a keypad and one single button on the side, glowing faint blue. This will get you out if something happens. But you can only use it once. Out of what? She didn't answer. Instead, she stood up and walked to the end of the dock. I know this is overwhelming. I know it sounds like madness. But you wanted the truth, and this is as much of it as I can safely give. I walked over and stood beside her. The sun had nearly disappeared, and a few stars were blinking into view. I don't care how many versions of me forget, I said. I don't want to lose you again. She turned, eyes wide and glassy. You always say that. And then she kissed me. That night, we drove back to my place together. It felt good, almost normal again. Like maybe we could outrun whatever was coming. She fell asleep on the couch, curled under my hoodie. And for once, I didn't dream. But when I woke up the next morning, she was gone. Again. This time, there was no notebook. No text. Nothing. Except one thing. My bedroom mirror had words written across it in red lipstick. Don't forget this time. Look in the vent. I pried the metal cover off the floor vent in my bedroom. Inside was a tiny plastic bag with a memory card and another photo. The picture showed me standing in the street, holding hands with Lily. But it wasn't a real street. It was a set. Like on a movie lot. In the background, there were people with headsets and cameras, like we were being filmed. And scribbled on the back of the photo. They're watching. Again. But we're getting close. Don't trust the man in the green jacket. A chill ran down my spine. Because someone had been hanging around the apartment building lately. Mid-30s. Sunglasses. Always wore a green jacket, even in the heat. I thought he was a neighbor. But maybe he wasn't. I didn't go to work that day. Instead, I loaded the memory card into my laptop. There were 3 video files. The first was just static. The second showed a blurry camera angle from what looked like a hospital room. Lily was in the bed. And I was sitting beside her. She was whispering something into my ear. Over and over again. I turned up the volume. It was one sentence on repeat. Please remember me this time. The third video? It started with a countdown. 5. 4. 3. Then my own face filled the screen. I looked scared. And then I spoke. If you're watching this, it means it's happening again. You're not crazy. She's real. Everything is real. And you have less time this time. Much less. Trust her. And don't let them reset you. The screen went black. After the third video ended, I sat there frozen, staring at my own face on the screen, whispering words I didn't remember saying. Don't let them reset you. Reset. That word hit harder than it should have. Because suddenly, little things started coming back. Deja vu moments. That time I reached for a coffee mug at Lily's place and somehow knew it would be chipped on the handle. Or the time she touched my shoulder during a thunderstorm and I flinched before the lightning struck. Memories weren't just hiding in the dark corners of my mind. They were trying to break through. I needed answers. And I wasn't going to get them sitting in my apartment waiting for another mystery package to show up. So I went to the last place Lily told me not to go. The building across from mine. Where the man in the green jacket always stood. He wasn't outside that morning. But I watched. Waited. At 9:12 a.m., right on time, he walked out of the alley behind the building. Same sunglasses. Same jacket. No expression. I followed him. Quietly. At a distance. He didn't seem like he was headed anywhere specific, just meandering down the sidewalk like he was killing time. Or waiting for a signal. Then, without warning, he ducked into a door marked Manning Storage. I counted to 30, then followed. Inside was dim and dusty. A desk sat near the front, but no one was there. Just rows of storage units. And then I heard it, a faint click behind me. I turned, and there he was. Mr. Green Jacket. He closed the door slowly, almost respectfully. You're early this time, he said. My stomach flipped. You know me? He tilted his head. I know all versions of you. I didn't know whether to run or throw a punch. But my legs felt like concrete. What do you want from me? I asked. He walked past me, calm as ever, and pulled a small silver device from his coat pocket. It looked like a remote with a red trigger button and a tiny blinking light. You're not supposed to remember, he said. It messes up the equilibrium. Introduces anomalies. You're talking like I'm part of a simulation. He looked at me, amused. Would that be easier to accept? I didn't answer. Because maybe it would. You've done this dance before. He continued. Met the girl. Started remembering. Started digging. You always think this time will be different. He held up the remote. But eventually, the protocol kicks in. What protocol? The reset. And then it hit me. This wasn't just a game of memory. It was deliberate. Someone, or something, had been wiping my past over and over again, like a chalkboard before class. So what? I said, anger rising. You're the janitor? I'm the failsafe. He pressed the button. Nothing happened. He looked at the device, confused. Tried again. Still nothing. Then the blinking light on the remote turned solid red. His face dropped. That's not possible. Suddenly, the storage room lights flickered. A low humming sound echoed from the back of the building. And then, a voice came through the intercom overhead. Protocol override engaged. Subject Adam, memory integrity at 71%. Manual reset disabled. External interference detected. The man's eyes darted to the ceiling, then to me. She's interfering. He hissed. Lily, I said under my breath. He lunged at me. I dodged barely. We fought, clumsily, like two amateurs. But I had adrenaline, and he had surprise. He managed to knock me down, pinning my shoulders. You don't understand what you're risking, he growled. This isn't just about you and her. Then explain it. But he didn't. Instead, he reached into his coat for something else, something I never got to see. Because right then, a sharp crack rang out. The man collapsed sideways. Behind him stood Lily, holding an old wooden cane with a metal tip. I told you not to follow him, she said, voice shaking. We didn't stick around. She grabbed my hand, and we ran. Out the back. Down an alley. Into her car. Either of us spoke for the first 10 minutes. Finally, when the silence felt too loud, I asked the one thing I couldn't keep in anymore. What am I? She glanced at me, eyes filled with something between awe and sadness. You're not a clone, she said. You're not a robot. You're not a glitch. Then what? You're the variable. She pulled into a forest trail and parked. We walked into the trees until we reached another cabin, but this one was different. Sleeker. Newer. Built like it didn't want to be found. Inside were screens, wires, monitors. Everything blinking, recording, scanning. This is where I keep the backups, she said. Backups of what? She touched the side of my face gently. You. She explained everything. The resets weren't just about forgetting. They were erasing. Changing parts of me. Behavior. Instinct. Even emotions. But she had found ways to anchor me, to save pieces. The notebooks. The drawings. The memories. Each one a breadcrumb I'd left myself. With her help. Over dozens of lifetimes. Why me? I whispered. Because you're the one who always chooses love. Even when they try to program it out of you. You always come back to me. Even when you don't know who I am. A tear slid down her cheek. And this time, we're going to break the cycle. For a moment, I forgot to breathe. Lily's words echoed in my head like they were stitched into my bones. You're the one who always chooses love, even when they try to program it out of you. I wanted to believe her. I did believe her. But deep down, the logical part of me kept clawing for solid ground. Because if everything she said was true, then my whole life, my entire identity, was a curated lie. Why would anyone do this to me? I asked, my voice breaking. Why erase love? Why target us? Lily walked over to a monitor in the far corner of the cabin. She tapped a few keys, and a file loaded, a video feed, grainy but clear. It showed a control room. Rows of terminals. A massive wall of screens. And in the center, me? Wearing a uniform. Speaking into a headset. Smiling. You used to work for them, she said. You were part of the system. The one that runs this. What is this? I whispered. A simulation? A trap? A test? She shook her head. We don't know what to call it anymore. All we know is you helped build it. My heart dropped. Then why am I on the outside now? Because one day you walked in here, she said, tapping her chest, and decided to fall in love with someone you were supposed to monitor. You broke the protocol. I sat down, lightheaded. So they punished me? No. They tried to reset you. Reassign you. Wipe the emotional memory. But it didn't stick. Every time, something inside you pulled you back to me. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope, handing it to me gently. This was written by the original you. The first version. The one who fell in love with me when this all began. I opened it slowly. Inside was a single handwritten note. If I ever forget, tell her I'm still trying. Even in pieces, I'll find my way back. Tears filled my eyes. I believed every word now. Not because it made sense, but because it felt more real than anything I'd ever known. That night, Lily showed me how the reset process worked. We stood in front of a long wall of machines, cool to the touch, humming softly. Each subject has a neural signature. She explained. Think of it like a fingerprint of the soul. Yours has always been different. Stronger. Why? Because love imprints. Emotion sticks. They underestimated that. She handed me a black wristband with a blinking green light. This syncs to your stored self. If they try to reset you again, it'll trigger a feedback loop. Their system won't be able to override it. I strapped it on. What happens if it fails? She looked away. You'll forget me. For good this time. At 3:17 a.m., the power flickered. Alarms blared. They'd found us. The screens lit up with flashing red text. Unauthorized memory sync detected. Purge sequence initiated. Lily grabbed a bag of drives and yanked open the emergency hatch behind the cabin wall. We have to run. We burst into the woods, sprinting through rain and mud, dodging tree branches as the sky lit up with mechanical drones scanning the ground. They were close. Too close. And then Lily stumbled. She twisted her ankle on a root and fell hard. I turned back, grabbed her hand. Get up. She winced. I can't. Go without me. Not a chance. I lifted her over my shoulder and kept running. My legs screamed. My lungs burned. But I didn't stop. Until I saw it. A clearing. At the center, a steel door half buried in the earth. The exit. She tapped her wristband to the scanner. The door creaked open. We collapsed inside just as the hatch slammed shut behind us. It was dark. Silent. Until she lit a small lantern. This is the last safe zone, she said softly. Once you leave, you can't come back. They won't find you again, but they won't stop trying. I sat down, soaked and trembling. Then we go together. She didn't respond. Instead, she slid a small drive into my hand. This has all your previous lives. The real ones. Proof of what they've done. Evidence. You're coming with me, I said. She didn't look up. Adam. I can't. Why not? Because I'm not fully outside the system. Not yet. I'm still tethered. If I leave now, I'll crash the whole exit protocol. You'll lose everything. So we wait. Her eyes filled with pain. There won't be another chance. The reset trigger's already halfway complete. You've got 5 minutes. After that, you lose yourself again. Silence hung between us. I can't do this without you, I said, my voice raw. You have to. Because if you go, if you make it, you can find a way to wake me up next time. I don't want next time. I want this time. She leaned forward and kissed me. One last time. Then whispered something in my ear. Close your eyes. Trust your heart. Jump. And I did. I woke up in a white room. Alone. A soft chime echoed above me. Welcome back, Adam, said a calm voice. Please proceed to orientation. But something was different. Because this time, I remembered. When I opened my eyes, everything looked clean. Too clean. Stark white walls, smooth floor, no windows. Just a single silver door and a glowing screen in the center of the room. Welcome back, Adam, the voice repeated. Orientation will begin in 60 seconds. But something inside me shifted. I didn't feel like a blank slate. I didn't feel like a machine ready to be programmed. I felt awake. I touched my wrist. The band Lily gave me was gone. But in its place? A faint mark. Like a burn. Shaped like a circle split in two halves, her symbol. The one she always doodled in her notebooks. She left something behind. Even if the system tried to erase it. The glowing screen flashed to life. Please confirm identity. Underneath was a single prompt. Who are you? I stared at it for a long time. Then, slowly, I typed. I am the memory you couldn't delete. There was a pause. Then the lights dimmed. The screen flickered. And another message appeared. Unauthorized input detected. Security protocol activated. A hidden panel opened in the wall. 2 guards stepped in, dressed in the same sterile white. But they weren't fast enough. Because as soon as they moved, the mark on my wrist flared bright red, just for a second. And everything around me glitched. Like the entire room flickered in and out of existence. Like reality itself was stuttering. The guards froze. One dropped to his knees, clutching his head. The other screamed, a short, mechanical sound, then collapsed. The walls around me began to shift, changing colors, textures, like they were trying to reboot but couldn't agree on what to become. That's when I saw it. A crack. In the corner of the room. Not in the wall, exactly. In the code. I ran to it and pressed my hand against the glitch. The surface rippled, then gave way. And I fell through. I landed in what looked like a subway tunnel, but darker. Older. Like something that had been hidden beneath all of this for years. Flickering lights. Faint electricity in the air. And then I heard her voice again. Lily. But it wasn't coming from a speaker or screen. It was in my head. You're almost there. Don't stop now. I walked for what felt like hours, following the echoes, The whispers, the flashing signs that weren't meant for me, but somehow were. One word kept repeating, scrawled on walls, burned into the floor tiles, etched into the pipes. Remember. Eventually, I reached another door. This one wasn't sleek or polished. It was wooden. Weathered. Familiar. I knocked. It creaked open. Inside was a room that looked exactly like Lily's cabin, the one she showed me at the beginning. Same chair. Same typewriter. Same notebook on the desk. But no Lily. Just the book. I picked it up and flipped through. Pages and pages of words I recognized as my own. But this time, they weren't memories. They were commands. Lines of code disguised as poetry. Instructions. A manual. If you're reading this, it means you got through. You remembered enough. But you're not finished yet. This world was designed to reset itself. But every system has a flaw. Your mind, your love, is the override key. They built this to erase emotion. So use emotion to break it. I turned the page. And there it was. The master command. One line. Just 7 words. Restore original instance, Lily, priority alpha. I closed the book and walked to the console at the back of the room. It looked ancient. Worn down. But still powered on. I typed in the command. The screen flashed. Confirm restoration of subject, Lily. Warning, action is irreversible. System integrity will collapse. Proceed? Y/N. My finger hovered over the key. This was it. This was the moment they tried to stop in every loop, every reset, every glitch. Because if I pressed that key, everything they built could fall apart. But I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. I pressed Y. The lights blew out. The floor shook. And from somewhere beyond the walls, I heard something break open, like glass shattering across dimensions. And then, her voice. Soft. Clear. Adam? She stepped into the room, barefoot, blinking like someone waking from a deep sleep. And it was her. Really her. Not a version. Not a memory. Not a ghost in a simulation. Lily. I breathed. She ran to me. I caught her mid-step. And for the first time in what felt like lifetimes, we held each other without fear. Without secrets. Without systems watching. But the world around us began to crumble. The walls cracked. The ceiling flickered like old film. The room groaned as if the entire architecture of the fake world was collapsing under the weight of something too real. Too human. What now? I asked, gripping her tighter. She looked up at me, calm and certain. Now we fall together. The world didn't end with a bang. It ended with a flicker. The lights dimmed, the walls dissolved, and the simulation crumbled around us like a house of cards meeting wind. Lily and I held each other as everything faded, first the machines, then the sound, then even gravity itself. It felt like floating inside a dream that didn't know how to wake up. And then, darkness. But not cold. Not empty. Just quiet. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't in the white room. Or the cabin. Or the tunnel. I was in a forest. Real. The kind where you can smell wet pine needles and distant rain. The sky above us was soft blue, streaked with gold from the setting sun. Lily sat beside me, barefoot, her hair tangled like she'd just escaped a storm. Where are we? I asked. She looked around, blinking slowly. I think we made it. We wandered the forest for a while, not talking much. Just being. Birds chirped in unfamiliar patterns. Leaves crunched beneath our feet. Everything felt new and ancient all at once. Then, in a clearing, we found a structure. Stone walls. Wooden beams. Hand-built, rough and beautiful. A cabin. But not one we'd ever seen before. No machines. No monitors. Just a home. Waiting. We stepped inside. No one was there. But on the table sat something impossible. A notebook. Not old. Not weathered. Fresh. Blank. Lily walked over and opened it. On the first page, in handwriting that looked like mine, were 5 simple words. Start your story from here. She looked at me, tears in her eyes. We're free. We stayed. Days turned into weeks. No resets. No watchers. No systems humming in the background. Just us. Sometimes I wondered if we were in another simulation, another level. But then I'd hear her laugh, see the way she looked at trees like they were miracles, and I'd know. This was real. Or real enough. And that was more than we'd ever had. One night, we sat on the porch watching fireflies blink like tiny stars. She leaned into my shoulder. I used to think we were cursed, she whispered. We were, I said. But maybe it wasn't a punishment. Maybe it was a test. To see if we'd keep finding each other? I nodded. To see if love survives even when memory doesn't. She smiled softly. It did. I asked her once, much later, if she remembered the first time we met. The original time. The one before all the loops. She looked at me for a long time, like she was flipping through invisible pages in her mind. I don't remember the moment, she said finally. But I remember the feeling. What feeling? That even before I knew your name, I knew it was you. The last page of the new notebook stayed empty for a long time. We didn't need to write it. We were living it. But one morning, I woke up and found that Lily had finally written something there. It said, "They tried to erase love. But love wrote itself back in. This was never a system. It was a story. And we finished it. So here we are. Two people who broke a loop meant to erase them. Two memories that stitched themselves back together. Not because of fate. Not because of magic. But because love, in its purest form, is the one thing even machines can't predict. If you're still watching this, if you've ever felt like something was missing or forgotten, if you've ever met someone and felt like you already knew them, maybe this story isn't just fiction. Maybe it's yours too. Maybe, just maybe, you're remembering now. The end.